Anime in South Africa has always been defined by nostalgia, and because of our limited selection of anime across channels like SABC2 and KTV, the brand of anime we were accustomed to was battle-oriented like Pokemon, Beyblade, and Dragon Ball Z. Because of the accessibility of that genre, these shows were marketed to a global audience in ways that the works of Yoshiaki Kawajiri or 90s Akiyuki Shinbo just would not be able to. The erotic psychosexual imagery of Kawajiri's Ninja Scroll or Wicked City, for example, were influential in setting the standard for the 90s anime aesthetic, but the general South African anime fan wasn't aware of this paradigm shift in dynamic, as unlike the rest of the Western fanbase, we would instead be indoctrinated into the medium through Dragon Ball or Pokemon, both extremely significant anime series that have been immortalized through the kind of works that go on to inspire. Pokemon was the gateway anime of most Western fans, and the English dub of the first episode premiered in the year 2000 in South Africa on the channel SABC2. To this day, the Pokemon anime currently has over 1,200 main series episodes, 23 movies, and a number of side stories. Around the same time as Pokemon was Digimon Adventure, which was produced by Toei Animation and ran for 54 episodes, capable of delving into much more deeper themes than its predecessor was able to in its earlier incarnations. Digimon made the rounds on KTV, flying under the radar for most of its run. In the early to mid 2000s, Yu-Gi-Oh! Achieved a high level of popularity in South Africa, bursting into the scene with a new spin on monster battles by having them exist as living creatures in a card deck. At the height of its ability, Yu-Gi-Oh! Was a masterful spin on this battle format, dense with intrigue, badass characters, and doing a phenomenal job of conveying a high level of complex maturity that was rare in its genre. And then we had Beyblade, which was produced by Studio Madhouse. The English dub was licensed by Studio Nelvana, and that version became the basis for the international version of the series, and this was the version that premiered and aired in South Africa. But it doesn't get more nostalgic than Dragon Ball Z. Dragon Ball Z aired in South Africa from 2003 to 2005 with the old version of the Funimation dub. This version of the show was broadcast again from 2009 to 2011. In 2005, they aired Dragon Ball GT with the Toonami dub, and again in 2015 to 2016. And Dragon Ball Kai was broadcast in 2012, also on SABC2. But the popularity of the franchise goes beyond anime as a medium, and while many people loved it, very few sought out its contemporaries. When I was watching DBZ, I did not even know what anime was, but I knew it was different in a way that warranted a longing for that kind of story. At least until Naruto. When Naruto aired on SABC2 during the early to mid 2010s, it was the anime that caught people's attention in a way that DBZ wasn't able to. When Masashi Kishimoto began work on what would become the Naruto franchise, he pulled upon a vast catalog of historical and mythological references. Its appeal lied in its titular protagonist and the core themes of war, compromise, conflict, and growing up. While much can be said about what Dragon Ball was trying to say, a lot of its thematic intrigue had somehow gotten lost in translation when compared to how much its successors were able to say at the height of their ability. It would be disingenuous to state that Dragon Ball had little to say when compared to Naruto or any of the big three, but the intent of either was evident in how each of their conflicts were resolved. For example, going back to the earlier parts of Naruto, we witness characters like Sasuke, Rock Lee, Hinata, and ultimately Naruto lose their battles in spite of their will and drive to surpass their opposition. When looking specifically into the fight between Rock Lee and Gaara, we witness one who worked hard to improve their abilities still fall short against one with greater power through no effort of his own. In DBZ, Goku worked without compromise, without cutting corners, and in the end, he was able to affirm his ideals and defeat his opposition. But Rock Lee is not the main character. Okay, Let's look at Naruto versus Sasuke. At the Battle of Tensho Bridge, Naruto lost that battle because he lacked the understanding with which to appeal to Sasuke's skewed perspective while still affirming his own. What he wanted was to take Sasuke back by force, dismissing any reason why Sasuke felt the need to leave and pursue revenge in the first place. By acknowledging what the anime was trying to say, we can understand that the outcome of the battle wasn't going to be decided by who punches the hardest, but in who stood firmest in their ideals. The Z fighters would die and be resurrected, but Goku and later Gohan would always win, because their battles were just bigger in scale. This is not to say one is better than the other. Naruto had a lot more going for it thematically, which kept people engaged. As a result, it's fair to say that Naruto is the most popular of the big three purely from a South African perspective. The earlier parts of One Piece weren't appealing enough to warrant the same level of engagement when it aired in the same slots on SABC2 due to its limited animation and pacing issues. While I could go into heavy detail regarding why I think One Piece is a stronger work holistically, and I'm tempted, but that's not what this video is about. Bleach, however, remained mostly unknown at the time, only finding an audience when it aired on Animax during the late 2000s. In South Africa, Animax was a channel offered on DStv in 2007. The channel provided a place to watch English-dubbed anime until it was terminated in 2010. Many anime fans in South Africa were introduced to anime through that channel, and its termination led to the fanbase seeking out merchandise, DVDs, manga, and pretty much all they could with very little success. In the mid-80s until the late 2000s, anime was released in 3 different forms, as TV series, feature films, and OVAs, the latter of which was straight to video, often 1 episode at a time. In the 2000s, Kyoto Animation and A1 Pictures were able to create a blueprint that allowed them to modernize the design style of cute girls, and there was a move away from big action spectacles to modest idol shows with dance numbers and a strong emphasis on slice of life and cute girls doing cute things. Shows like The Melancholy of Haruhi Suzumiya, Like His Star, or even K-On! Were widely beloved, which meant anime could be more than main character gets stronger to beat bad guy and save the world. But in South Africa, the identity of anime was whatever we were able to consume. We were not getting what was put out, we were getting what we were getting. So when this shift in identity reached our shores, a lot of anime fans were put off by what seemed like boring slice of life stories that built up to nothing. So then Animax became the only window into the medium's appeal. Neon Genesis Evangelion, Mobile Suit Gundam Seed, and Eureka 7 gave us entry into the mecha genre through hard-hitting robot battles and ruminations on war. But where the genre excels is in sheer visual spectacle. But depending on where you get your fix, your judgment may vary, as no one show is ever like the other. Basilisk, Gantz, and Alphen Lied depicted gore, rape, and carnage, and I do not recommend them to sensitive viewers, as you may find that your eyes are bigger than your stomach. In Death Note, viewers were introduced to one of the first non-battle anime, a psychological thriller that evokes questions on justice and criminal psychopathology. Trigun, Trinity Blood, Kitty Grade, Ergo Proxy, the Hack franchise, and Paranoia Agent all had varying degrees of success and popularity on the channel. But the 2010s were the most interesting decade in anime, and the advent of Rage Expo and Comic-Con Africa cemented geek culture in the South African zeitgeist. Cosplayers like Kateria have managed to find and maintain an audience of loyal followers, and have done so through nothing but force of will and in their craftsmanship of incredibly detailed anime cosplays ranging from Bleach, Demon Slayer, and Darling in the Franxx. Kateria, for instance, has built a community doing what she loves, and anime fans in South Africa have taken notice. Sadly, this level of engagement is not without its downside. I made a video discussing the pitfalls of the cosplay community if you'd like my thoughts on that. Sources. But today, action spectacle pieces are no longer the acceptance criteria that define good anime. The most significant contributions of the 2010s were the streaming services that were instrumental in bringing the medium to a South African audience. Netflix and High Dive have been able to bring a previously niche medium to a wider audience, and the reality of its appeal is no longer that difficult to justify. Today, South African anime fans are at a place where their tastes can be allowed to evolve, and the biggest reason as to why that's possible is due to access, and the streaming era has been the largest contributor to that end. And when we're looking at all the works and online content that have risen from the influence of anime, we start to see a medium that earns its iconography on the same level as comic books do. It's obvious that the imagery and tone that defines the medium reaches into a deep inner sanctum of our psyches that we no longer feel the need to hide our affection for it. I have been your friendly neighborhood geek writer. Thank you for watching.